welcome back, everyone. Hope you're having a fantastic Friday. Here in London, a little bit more sunny, which is a nice change. Um, and we have a brilliant session today that we're going to be going through, as you might have seen, beating the low block, where we'll go through some analysis and coaching. Firstly, back with Lucas Sutherland, the Tactics Academy. Lucas, how you been this week?
Very good, my mate. How have you been?
Brilliant. Yes, very good. Thank you. Came back from a great visit at Peterborough United Academy, so that was fantastic. Thank you. And we have someone very very special who I had the pleasure of meeting last year. And if you do not have his book already, he's a co-author of Two versus One. You have to get it. It should be one of the first books that you get 2026. Andreas Schumacher, it is brilliant to have you with us, my friend. How are you doing, Andreas?
Good, thank you for the warm words, Temi-san. Thank you. Hi, everyone out there. Hi, coaches.
Brilliant. Andreas, they know myself and Lucas over the last couple of weeks. It'd be great just a quick whistle stop of your experience and sort of that. I love the one liner that you shared with us off camera as
Oh,
well.
yeah, okay. So, hi to everyone. I'm Andreas. I am helping coaches and teams in a high performance environment to perform when it matters the most and to win games. So that's what I've been doing for the last couple of I wouldn't say decades, but 15 years almost now. I try to be at my best on everything. So I try to push my boundaries for whatever I deliver. Try to give you as much as insight I can give, as much as helpful insights today, and hope I can contribute to this 1 hour session.
Too kind, Andreas. Thank you very much. Just to let everyone know, we are streaming across different platforms. So for this week, LinkedIn Live, also Tactics Academy on YouTube, Andreas and Lucas's Instagram, and also my X page. So if you find yourself knocked out of one, then at least there's some other options. We are going to get straight into it, and Lucas has looked through a brilliant game for us to go through together, and Andreas will be sharing some fantastic tactical insights and details for us to consider. And then at the end, I'll also be going through some coaching practices which you can utilize depending on your context. Also, as always, please drop in questions for us as we go through. There were some brilliant questions last week. And of course, what you would like to see next week too. This is something we have done now for 3 weeks in a row, 1 o'clock UK time, and we'll be continuing with this. So, gonna hand over to you, Lucas.
Perfect. Awesome. So, the game we've chosen to kind of talk about this week is the Chelsea versus West Ham Premier League game, which happened last week. As a Chelsea fan, I was very happy with the result and the comeback there. But a key theme within that game was the ability of Chelsea to break down West Ham's low block in the second half. Of course, West Ham were 2-0 up, and Chelsea had to come back, score 3 goals in the second half, which they did brilliantly, and it was all down to how they broke that low block. So that's what we're going to be analysing today, and we're going to go into more coaching detail later as well. And before we actually dive into the game, I think it's important to kind of pinpoint what are some of the key principles when it comes to breaking down a low block. Of course, this is very opinionated as well. So, guys, if you want to drop any of your thoughts in the comments and any questions, please do so as well. But this is how I see it. So, key principle number 1 is our 1v1 ability out wide. I think, well, actually, let me share my screen and I'll talk to you whilst doing some illustrations.
Sure. I will be sharing some links for to the Tactics Academy, etc. onto as well. Thank you for asking.
Okay, so can you guys see that? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So I think one key principle has to be the 1v1 ability out wide in these sorts of zones, because a lot of the time you trust your wide player to be isolated 1v1 against a fullback, and in order to kind of bypass this back line, it is a lot about can you beat your man going this way. So I think that's very important. Another key principle has to be about these half spaces, because as we begin to stretch this back line, then naturally gaps will begin to open up. And in those gaps, we need movement, we need runners. Even if they don't receive the ball, it still causes a problem for the centre backs, and the back line ultimately would then have to drop back, and then that can then free up space in the middle of the pitch as well. Another key principle is about timing of the runs into the box. Now, I think this is a one which people can overlook really. If the runs are too early, and if the attackers occupy the box too soon when the ball is not ready to come in, then you are giving the defenders a better opportunity to clear the ball when it does come in, because you've not created the space to be able to make that movement into the box. So if the back line were back here, for instance, and then you kind of dart into that position from a deeper position, there you've got the space to move into as well. And then number 4 is about deception. You have to show trickery, you have to be deceptive in order to break a solid structure as well, which is what low block teams do.
Just on that, and great start. Thank you, Lucas. Andreas, what would you add to it from your experience?
Oh yeah, Lucas, you really dive into without any warm up. Great visual here. I haven't seen that yet. So, but for me, I'd like to start with any kind of topic from a broader kind of perspective, like zooming out a little. So every time I work with a team, for me it's important that we set up like a team tactical principle. We need that team tactical principle, and you could name it however. So it could be like exploiting the central space behind the backline, or using the central space in front of the goal as the main, and it might sound obsolete, you don't have to even mention it, but the more you mention it, that this is the sheer direction, every player can contribute with their intention, with their actions, to make that exactly. Thanks for drawing it in. To align, to contribute, to exploit that space, to create that high quality chance. So that's the first one. I look at it, and then naturally I like to look at the mechanics. So what changes when the opposing team sits deeper? So yes, it changes that the exact same space Lucas just pointed out is getting smaller, and that's what they are looking for, right? They keep that space occupied, so the pressure comes even from more centrally, and you have less space in behind, means there must be more space on wider areas, what Lucas already pointed out, and I have more space to like play around that low block, like typically that handball kind of switching sides, looking for those weak spots within the structure. So this is basically how I perceive how do we gonna beat that low block. And then first you've have Cucurella and Gusto already wide. We need those players in order to get the mechanics, the gaps in between, as wide as possible. Because for sure we can go over, which Chelsea has done very good job on crossing and chipping those balls over in the area I've just pointed out. But if I want to go through, like I think it was second goal, we'll touch base on that, but most of you might have seen it anyways. You need to stretch that back line, now back 5, back 4. But in order to stretch them, we need to have passing options wide and high. So basically, this is it. And then we can go layer for layer, going deeper into the positions, the moments, the direction, the speeds of asking for the ball, passing, dribbling actions, all the attacking actions we'll dive into today.
Brilliant. And just before you go, well, thank you, Andreas and Lucas. You set the scene brilliantly. For those who don't know, around a low block, typically the low block team would have a position between the edge of the 18-yard area and the bottom of the D, and the width of the 18-yard area usually. And the benefit there, especially with the width of the 18-yard area, because it's about 44 yards approximately, then their pressing distances across each other is only about 5 to 10 yards. So it's usually very tight in that space.
Awesome. So now we've got the kind of foundation set, then let's go into some actual in-game moments that we spotted. In the first half, yeah. Now in the first half, Chelsea weren't very successful at creating good chances to break down.
So you cut out there just slightly, Lucas.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's better, yeah.
Yeah, so looking at the first half, Chelsea weren't very successful at creating many big chances to kind of hurt West Ham. And I think firstly, build up and the way your team is set at the back can actually play a big part in this. Because, well, you notice the changes as we talk about it further. The changes at half time make a big impact on that. But I think the more you retain the ball further back the pitch, the more it allows these players to kind of get up the pitch, and the more they can hurt you on the transition as well, because these defensive players, these midfield players are higher. So I think that's another key theme is can you maintain that territory in the opposition half and continue to build on that momentum as well. So anyway,
just on that one, Andreas, you had a great comment here around how can the player at the ball help progressing after passing it to the side. Did you want to expand on that?
So yes, I'll always see that with the players on the wings. So now, once we play that ball wide to the player on the side, so to me is who needs support then? Is it the defender or is it the attacker on the wing? So this is my first question I want you to think of. And if every time I ask this to my players, they said, oh, if I have the player wide here on the line, and this is a 1v1, oh, for sure the defender needs help. So then I ask the player who has just passed the ball wide, so how can you make sure that he keeps that space? So where do you run to help him? So what does your action look like to help your player wide? Because what we see often, the player who passed the ball wide, he becomes a passing option on the side or underlaps in between the nearest and the second to nearest defender. How can you create more space? So instead of going through here, he should like slide towards the center even more to when the moment is good that the wide player wins the 1v1, could be with an inside cut or could beaten on the outside, then it's the time to run in behind the second defender and go deep into half space. Because this is, so he basically asks for the ball, he's sliding towards the center, creating space for the wider areas and say, go for it, 1v1, you have the whole wide area. So just take that space and beat the defender. And once you've beaten him, that's my moment to support you. 4-1-2, or give it an underlap, or however, or I'll be in centrally for tapping in the cross. However,
brilliant.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And we do have a question here in the chat. So firstly, Julian has a good question. What would be a good principle to coach the timing of runners into the area to load the box? When do they start to accelerate? I think touching it slightly already there, and Andreas a little bit, but yeah, would there be anything in addition that you wanted to share yourself with Lucas?
Would you go on, Lucas, or should I?
Yeah, I think, again, going back to my point about structure, Enzo in this game played a key role because he was further back in the pitch, expected to collect the ball in wider areas, but also then expected to make these kinds of runs. And you'll see how that changed in the second half. But I think, again, if you arrive too early, like Andreas said, if you arrive here too early, then you're not actually creating that intent to attack the space in behind. And then, therefore, you're not actually supporting the winger who needs the timing of the run. So I guess, in terms of a coaching perspective, like making sure your players know the triggers and can they be more intelligent to think, right, what is my run going to cause this defender to do in this moment when the winger receives the ball? Are they going to track me? Are they going to cover and go 2v1 against the winger? You know, questions like that you need to be asking your players, I think.
Yeah, speaking about principles, to me, it's always I try to point out principles for the moment, the direction, the speed, the position, the moment, the direction, the speed of the action. Kind of if we speak about the principle for that asking for the ball action for the player on the ball right now, he's passing the ball wide, and that's about the asking for the ball action. Could be the moment is as late as possible and as soon as necessary, right? This is very broad and kind of triggers the game inside reference of the player. So now he would ask, but what's too late and what's too soon to go in? So then we speak about the triggers would be, so how about he chooses a position that's on a horizontal line, on the same line how the winger is, and then waits for the winger for his action to perform the dribbling action, because if he's on the same line, on the horizontal line, you might can point out, Lucas, so then he could be a short passing option, or he could be a passing option in behind, so in front of the back line or behind the back line. If he goes too early, he might run offside, and if he doesn't get the pass, he's gone.
Yeah.
So he needs to wait. The trigger is if the winger beats his opponent to the inside. This might be the trigger to give a 1-2. It's like tap tap, so that the winger goes in behind the back line. That's our team tactical principle, exploiting the space in behind the back line. So they both contribute to that. Or if he sees himself in a good position, in the back of the defender might be, he might go for that run, but then the passing lane is open, so and he can get an easy through ball, and he'll find himself in a good position, a good assisting position, maybe scoring position, inside the box half lane.
Yeah, great points again. And I think one more point that I want to add is also it's the winger's recognition of the moment as well, and knowing when to slow down and when to speed up. Like you mentioned, that's a key principle. I think many wingers nowadays can just get into the habit of, receiving the ball and being as direct as possible, as quick as possible. But if you don't have the support from, that earlier phase, then that might prove a little bit pointless. And so we talk about delaying from a defensive point of view. You want to delay the attack, but actually, how can we delay our attack to allow our support to become, there? Because Garnacho in this position for me, he doesn't need to make that decision right now. He can receive the ball, he can slow himself down. The fullback Wan-Bissaka is not going to commit because he's up against a dribbler who has the ability to beat him, and so he will retreat. And so that just opens up more options for Chelsea forward. I don't know what you guys think about
that. Yeah. Nothing more for me. I think it's brilliant. I know we're 20 minutes. We've done the first slide. I knew we were going to spend this amount of time. It's brilliant. Go forward. And the questions are great. If you've got any other questions, please do share in the chat.
Right, cool. So as we can see from this resulting thing, he turns inside and he gets doubled up on. So that's the centre midfielder coming across to give his mate some support. And then Chelsea from this position end up going back and resetting, and this allows West Ham to get further up the pitch. Here's a different example. Now, Andreas, I know you had some good points about...
Sorry, can we go back one quickly? I know we're... Just go back one, please, Lucas. Thank you. So we see this moment happening, that can happen quite often in low blocks where maybe you can't get down the wide area and then you're turning back. Andreas, you had a brilliant point around, okay, how can he maybe still find a pass inside? Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, for sure. So first of all, the player in the back, who now is about to receive that ball, my first question is, why did you choose this position? Because this is a clear trigger for everyone. If they cut off on the side, like they cut back, it's clearly they decided there's no way through. And you can point out it's like 2 versus 3. It's like it's a tight space. There's no dynamics in that situation. So there is a reason why they don't go through, because it's blocked. So now everybody knows now there should be a trigger. They don't go through that side because it's blocked.
Mm-hmm.
There should be more open spaces centrally on the other side. So now the player in the back, what would be a way better position to accelerate the attack, to switch play? To me, it would be more centrally. So you either drop a little back and go more centrally, right? That you can receive that diagonal back pass, and with your first touch, you can already accelerate centrally. Because now, if he gets a back pass, I assume he will be pressed from an inside position, right? If he gets it here, if he receives that ball here, he got pressed from the player. They can move up with their block, and we have no chance to unbalance them with this pass. We need a next pass and maybe a next pass. The other two things is, if we look at the referee's area right now, and this is what back then Neymar did such a great job on that. He kind of let everybody know, oh, I don't go for the dribble yet. So I turn around, I go for the back pass, and in the very last moment, he decided, no, I attack the ball side as well. So now, look at this. He could now look for a central pass, referee area, whoever will ask for the ball, that will be a good ball. Or if he makes a cut inside, we have the midfielder near, and if he goes now, if he progresses, look at the situation right now. Look at this. So, but everybody knows he will go for that back pass. Even himself, he will go. So he already gave up. And this is fine. He decided it's blocked area. But just be aware, when everyone thinks, oh, he will go back, it's a very good moment to force again.
Do you know what, Andreas, you mentioned a fantastic point there. And when I hear around youth football and even progressing to 21s, you hear a lot of play out of pressure, and so sometimes the immediate thinking is, okay, there's too many bodies here, we may seemingly be overloaded, let's just recycle and then go out the other side, which everyone is expecting, as you said. But then it's really those players who think, no, actually we can still play in here, and there's an opportunity to catch the opposition off guard with a disguised pass. It's very interesting to know if coaches, and this is one for you to take, how often do you do that to say, actually, can you still find a way, even though they may be expecting, as Andreas, as you said, a back pass and then trying to switch out the other way?
And let me add one more thing, and even on a player's perspective. So whoever out there has played defender, right? So I was kind of both in the middle, but whoever had experience being a defender, how relieved does it feel if you not even press your attacker and he turns around and plays that ball back? You're kind of, oh my goodness, that was easy, right? But if he comes at you like every single time, and even here he goes for the back pass, you kind of, I'm out of this. And then he turns and he's on you again. You're gonna, come on, stop that shit, right? So
Yeah.
you just don't want to play an attacker like this. And even if you win it, you're like, oh my goodness, when will this guy stop? So right, so this makes something with you as a defender.
Agreed. Agreed.
Great
Brilliant.
point. Again, I'm going to add something onto that as well.
Go for it. Go
Um,
for it.
Again, it links to one of my first key principles of deception, doesn't it? And we're going to see that later on in the game come out with Cole Palmer as well, and how he creates the third goal. But yeah, great point. Can he, check his shoulder even? Can he spot that the defender's on the wrong side and he's not protecting this space? And even if there's no runners, can he just play that ball into there? He's got this defender pinned back by this player, this defender's pinned back by this player, so they're going to find it harder to jump forward anyway. Can he be brave instead of resetting it all the way and go, you know what, I'm going to take my chances here. We're not in a bad position. We've got a good rest defense. I'm going to play that ball in there. But yeah, great point.
Brilliant.
Okay. Next image then, and this is going to be the last one of the first half. Again, kind of highlighting where Chelsea couldn't break down this low block. I want to highlight the positioning of Enzo here. Okay. Now, he's probably just came from this area and curved his run now to meet Garnacho out wide. But the fact that there's no other support from, a midfielder, you can't even see another Chelsea midfielder in this image, is another question mark. And Andreas, I know you had a good point on this. Do you want to touch on that quickly?
You're totally right. There is support missing, but we'll see in the wide area it's a 2v2, right? 2v2, and sometimes when we have equal numbered situations, I think space again is a friend of the attackers, right? So this 2v2 with this amount of space, we could exploit that. But therefore, we need our players to know how to create a short moment of overload out from this equal numbered situation. So, and basically the two principles I work with all the time is, so as the ball carrier, you should dribble to the side of your teammate's defender. So now, even if you think about it, now if he dribbles to the left, then for a very short moment, there would be a struggle for the defender further back, right?
Yeah.
For sure, his teammate should do a run. Or the other principle would be, as the teammate, so the player who has not have the ball right now, can you run in behind the direct defender of the ball carrier? So now if he would go across, maybe even further back, I don't know if this would give him a passing line, right? But then what would the other defender do? They need to, there is that short moment. If you can make that, can you see mine? I don't know, right? Just further back the run, through the two defenders and further back, that he becomes a passing option. That will be another challenge for those two to deal with and to create something. But for sure, there are so many. I only see players in red. So even if they beat the two, what next? So there is just no other attacker nearby.
We have a question here, really good question from Michael. Thank you. Who said, how can we as coaches encourage risk taking and progression when players often like to play the safe pass? It's a good question. Firstly, I would probably say that I don't know if I can say players like to play the safe pass first. When they grow, as they're growing up, I don't know what age group you're coaching, Michael, but what I do hear a lot of, and I've done it myself, even coaching, is look, find the recycle. It's too tight in there. But actually, seeing what your players would do naturally. Some may want to hold on to it and turn. Some may try to pass and do a 1-2. But I think maybe because we prescribed already at times as coaches that if it's too tight in one area, or we're underloaded in one area in a wide space, then we need to go and recycle. It could just be something that it's more nature, if you like. Nurture, if you like, more than nature from the player. Andreas, you chuckled a little bit there.
Oh, yeah. I really love that question. Thank you, Michael. Just if we look at the language side, now you are asking for taking a risk. So just imagine yourself climbing a tree. I don't know when you've climbed a tree last time, right? So like the first yard, no problem. But why is the first yard no problem? Because there are like these strong arms everywhere. You just go on it easy. But when do you need to take a risk on climbing up the tree? When your skills of climbing that tree kind of hits the ceiling. You're not, oh, I haven't been there yet. I'm not sure if I am a good enough climber to go further up the tree. So, and this is the same. The better your players becoming solving the 1v1s, 2v2s, then the risk goes, like the risk comes here because they're able to climb that tree. They're able to solve it. So it's not asking for them to take a risk. It's if we prepare them better in training, then we won't even ask taking a risk because he's just able to beat that player. They are able to beat those players in the 2v2s.
Yeah.
So the more self-confident you feel that you can perform those action in game in front of, what do we have in West Ham, 20, 30K, right? So then it's not taking a risk, it's just doing what you're good at.
Brilliant. Excellent point there. Go for it, Lucas.
To add on to that, great question, Michael. I think, can we encourage our players to change their mind in the last second? Okay. Now, players, especially young players, they probably have a ready-made picture in their head already, because that's what they know best, isn't it? So if they don't have another option, they will do what they know best. And so can you tell your player to just change your mind at the last second? Because that, changing something and 1 second to do it before the defender comes allows the player to work on their instinct rather than what they have always been told to do, if you understand what I mean. So I think changing your mind at the last second is a good thing to tell your players if you want to encourage risk taking as well.
But we've got a question here, and I know, Andreas, you mentioned the position, moment, direction, speed. We've got a question from Kutlono. Hope I pronounced your name correctly. How can coaches create training environments to develop synchronized movements off the ball? So synchronized PMDS between players. Very, very good question there.
If you speak about synchronizing, it means there are more players involved. It has to do first with tactical understanding of what we are about to do. If your team misses on the overall intention, what we're trying to do, right? So some teams go for, oh, we are crossing team, just create crosses, right? Okay, then we create crosses. Doesn't matter how wide they are, create crosses, right? Some go for just long balls centrally, we go for second balls. And it's as easy as I say. Or the better team, like let's say Man City, or all those teams, they end up in the last 8 of the Champions League. They try to create the best possible chance, right? So if you want to create the best possible chance, it comes with a different behavior when you just go for crosses, when you just go for long balls. But the overall intention, what we're trying to do in attacking, should be crystal clear. Because as I said, if you want to synchronize individual actions, they all need to contribute to the same team intention. This is the first step. As better the team intention is, the better the chance that the decisions chosen of your players contribute to that and it looks synchronized. So for sure, if you set up a training environment, it should be the pitch, the game, And then you can think of if you whatever you cut off, if you make it 11v11 or if you make it a 6 versus 6, 6 versus 5, 7 versus 6, I don't know. But then let them experience the whole width of the pitch, the goal centrally, and let them figure it out. And then you help by coaching. Is this a good position to ask for? Is this a good position to help? Is this a good moment for you passing, for you dribbling, for you asking for the ball? The direction you ask for the ball, is that a good direction? So, and then you provoke all those game references and all those kind of game inside reference. Should I go now? Is this a good position? And this helps your player to understand better how to contribute to your team intention. And over time, they'll get better and it looks more and more synchronized.
Brilliant. Thank you for that, Andreas. And we've got one other question here before we move on from Stephen. Thank you. How would you deliver a session based on movement in half spaces to disorganize the defensive line when attacking? So we can touch on that slightly later when we start going into the coaching sessions.
Okay, shall we move on to
Yeah.
the second half?
Go for
Yes.
it. Yes.
Cool. Right. So I'm going to get my little tactics board up here again. Again, guys, if you're wondering what software I'm using, it's called JLA Tactics Board. Cheap as chips, £7 a month, and you get this tactics board where you can do lots of little illustrations and movement of players. And then you get this feature, which is brilliant, where you can really pick apart images and annotate over the top of them. So yeah, get out that if you haven't looked at it already. So Chelsea made 3 changes at half time, and they completely kind of rebuffed their left-hand side, which wasn't getting a lot of joy in the first half. And one of the key things that they did was they actually looked to congest this central area even more. So if I just pull Souček out and go to a back 4, you had João Pedro come onto the pitch, who, of course, anyone who watches him, we know he's extremely good in these tight spaces in the centre of the park. And then we had kind of Fernandes, who was beyond the 2 West Ham strikers looking to receive the ball. Whereas before, if I just mark up, he was kind of positioned out here in the first half, and he was expected to, because Neto wasn't on the pitch, to do this job and make that run into the half space, and that left Garnacho a little bit isolated. But now there is already that structure in place, so when Chelsea do progress it, they've got options on that back line straight away. And what this central space does is it also kind of brings these wingers in and kind of narrows off their shape even more, opening up these wider spaces, these half spaces for, and I'll show you in a moment, wider progressions, wider overloads, half space movements, and we're going to take a look at that in these images here. Anything to add, guys?
Go ahead, Andreas.
That's fine.
Okay, great. Yeah, you can go ahead, Lucas.
So one of the things we spotted, this was in the lead up for the first goal, and Fofana came onto the pitch. This half space lane channel opens up because Chelsea have way more body centrally. The winger here, Somerville, if I just mark him, he was a lot more narrow, trying to mark Cole Palmer, and that allowed the space for Fofana to drive forward into that half space. Of course, we know he is also the correct profile of player to be able to do that. You need specialised centre-backs who are comfortable at doing that job firsthand. And that's how Chelsea created their first goal. And another key principle, which I mentioned before, was timing of the runs into the box. And you'll see here, Chelsea don't arrive too early, so they're not already here, which restricts their space. They're actually making that movement as the ball is about to be whipped into the box. Does anyone want to add anything on that?
Yeah, go for it.
You go, Timson.
Yes. So no, you go first, Andreas. That's fine.
So this to me is a very very interesting crossing area. But overall, when we see passing and how players been conditioned over years from early ages to even pro level, is like this is a pass into a space, open space, and also what Lucas pointed out is we need to have players to arrive at that space when the ball is there. So when it comes to crossing, I see players all ages, all levels, looking for their teammates and then try to find their teammates with the pass, in this case a cross. And the moment they cross to that teammate, for sure that situation changed. It's like a whole different story. But here the 6-yard box line doesn't move, and it's an open space, and it's the central space in front of goal. So if this is open, can I cross that ball to that open space? This is my job. And the job of my, like Lucas pointed out, of my 10 and 9 in this case, is to arrive there in that space. Now, let me ask you a question. How many times do you have not only crossing exercises, but passing exercises that is not going to a man already standing where the pass arrives? Think about that. Like through ball combinations. Oh, another through ball, just too wide. Just too hard. Too fast. The goalie picked it up. Because they're conditioned to pass to standing teammates in warm-up, athletic drills, you click through YouTube and you'll find tons of passing drills. So this changes the game. He passes into open space, they run into open space, players meet when the ball arrives, boom, goal. And I guess almost all goals like that. Not only the Chelsea game.
Yeah. Agreed, and I think it's really important for coaches listening in, as you shared, Andreas, that you really do have to train what is game realistic, and what is going to help your players on game day. And
what's decisive? Sorry, Tim. What's
yeah.
decisive? They are able to, like centre back passes. They are able in a game to make centre back passes, but that's what we train. But these passes, those are the decisive passes.
Brilliant. I was just going to add on to what Andreas is said here. With the Fofana's space where he's in. If you watch the video of the game, he gets a little bit closer before he crosses. I think this is something, especially in training, that we should be looking at a lot more as coaches, because I love the half space cross, if you like, or the cross from corner of the 18-yard area, because the defenders are going back towards their goal, so it means the attackers they've got the momentum. The goalkeeper doesn't necessarily want to come out as far, depending on where he crosses it from, because if he comes out too far, then potentially the attacker could get in front of him. And of course, if you're crossing to the back of the 6-yard area, if you look, whoever's furthest on the pitch there on the left-hand side, I don't know if it's Cucurella who's there, anything that may miss out can be picked up by that player as well. So it's a very, very, like you said, a high leverage area to be able to cross from. And I think, like you said, the decisive, what the decisive pass is, if you like. I think this is a very key area for those also additional reasons.
And of course, crossing is a big part of breaking a low block, and I think many people can say when they come up against low blocks, like if you're watching the game on the TV, you'll wonder, oh, why do they keep crossing it in the box? Try and create a central opportunity, try and have shots from the edge of the box. But actually, crossing is going to be your best action to break this down in this phase of the game. Like getting the ball into an area that can cause chaos, where you've got 3 or 4 attacking players in the box trying to get on the ball, is going to probably be your best outlet here. But I just want to add some intention behind the cross as well, because I think that's also important. Now, I'm a big fan of either areas. So you'll see Pep Guardiola wants cutbacks a lot. um, because it encourages timing of the run as well to the edge of the box, and it encourages players to move on to the ball rather than hit the ball. I'm not a big fan, actually, of crosses from this zone. A couple of reasons why. Because, firstly, likelihood is the ball is going to travel straight, and the keeper is going to anticipate that and probably come out into, trying to claim the ball. And you also get less movement from the attackers because most likely it's going to be a floated cross. But, like Temisan was saying, I also really like crosses from these types of areas. Because as you were saying, it allows the players to run onto the ball. You got that space created in there, and the keeper's a little bit unsure. So I think if you can add some intention to your crossing rather than just it being a typical cross into a dead zone, for instance, then that can change the game a lot.
That's good to see from you, Lucas. And one thing I would probably say, so in that purple area, I would say what I do like is that when we talk about low block, if for example it can be a cross that's zipped across on the floor and is slightly going away from the back line, so as they play the cross, it's going diagonally away from them, maybe to the corner of the 6-yard area. I think it can be quite dangerous, depending on, of course, the starting positions of the of the other attacking players running into the box.
Yeah, sure, that's a good point.
Andrea, sorry, was there anything before we move on?
Yeah.
We've got 15 minutes left.
Okay, then I make it quick. I love to speak about mechanics because the better we understand it, the better our players understand it. And so now if you drive the ball down in these purple corner kind of areas, and the low block will sit and drop deeper and cover the central area in front of the goal. So now what I do like is if we now pass back into the green area, right? So in the green area on the edge of the box, this makes the low block then push up. So if you now create first, if they push up, they open up that space where we're about to score. And if we then put that cross in a counter movement of them, they pushing up, and I cross in behind, like we've had in the the other green area. So you are in the red area, you pass it back to the green area in the edge. But this, you drawn in a cutback. But I'm not speaking about a cutback.
Like that, yeah.
From where Juve is. Is it Juve or Wan-Bissaka, Andreas?
Yeah, it's the Juve near Juve's area.
Yeah.
Right. So I've explained it.
Yeah.
And then you cross it in behind, right? So you're lost, Lucas. I guess you're lost in my explanation. So maybe my explanation was that kind of bad.
Yeah, no. Yeah, if you then cross sort of near where the opposite 6-yard area is, or just in front to there.
Right, this is it.
Yeah.
This is it. So driving down to the corner side, then they drop, you turn, you make a back pass to where Lucas now pointed out, and then you cross it in behind their movement. It just makes it hard to defend. It's all about angles and distances and the spaces we want to go through. The shorter crosses, like in-box crosses, are harder to defend because I have less time to react in the middle, as those long kind of crosses. I have more time to react. If the angle is like this, I might give up more threatening space than when I cross from wider areas corner flag. So this is all about understanding and the mechanics behind it. And once we got it, we can teach it, and they learn it hopefully, and then they are going to execute it better and better, and they score more.
Good stuff.
Excellent. We do have a question here, which I knew we would get coming through, and one coach, James, and we've all done it, said, being guilty of the passing to feet of sessions.
Me too.
We all have. Adolfo, he said, when you ask player questions, what should be the starting point? What should be the starting point or thought process with the PMDS? Andreas?
Position.
Yeah, position.
So it's always position. It's exactly that that sequence. It's always a position. What I like to have the analogy, if you learn how to ride a car, right? then you make sure you sit on the driver's seat, not on the back seat, not on the right, because I don't want to tell you how to drive the car from the back seat, even though it would be a fancy skill though, right? But first you have to get into the best possible position.
Yeah.
And from there, we want to have those actions like flourish and going into moment, direction, and speed of it. So position, position, position. Everything is about position. And on top of that, you don't have to coach position in a non-contextual training environment. If you do whatever, right, then don't come up with your position needs to be what position in what kind of square or circle, or where's the goals. There aren't any goals, so so this is hard to translate.
Yeah. Brilliant. Lucas, I wonder if we go through maybe one more before then I can share one practice. I've got up like 7, but I'll share one. And then we can, because we've had a lot of questions come through, and I want to make sure we can get through the questions that have been shared, because they're great questions.
Yeah, so we're just going to discuss the final goal then, and I think this brings it all together fairly nicely. Again, talking about deception earlier on, this is what creates this goal. This is what starts it, okay? Palmer here, these 3 defenders all attracted to the ball. You can see they're all looking at Cole Palmer and his position. And his body positioning is like he's going to just play that ball back there, okay? But he does so well here, and I think he's, one of the best in the Premier League at doing this, is spotting that final pass in the last moment. And like I spoke about before, changing his mind at the last moment. If you can encourage your players to do this, you're going to create a lot more risk taking and more opportunities as well. So Caicedo, a great movement. He's anticipating it. He knows Palmer's ability. And then at the last moment, he plays that ball into there. Caicedo is going to run onto it. I'm just getting through this a little bit quicker. And now we'll talk about timing. Now, because in the previous images, they were sitting slightly deeper, it allows that space to be moved into. João Pedro creates a space away from the defender, the centre-back, allows that pass to be played into his path in front of him. And then you've got this situation where, again, they're not arriving early, so they're not already here, but they are darting from the edge of the box, allowing that space to open up, making it harder for the West Ham defenders to track any runners into the box. And this ultimately creates space for Enzo to have a shot as well.
Brilliant. And Jess, I know do you want to touch on something quickly?
Oh, sorry, just respond to a question. Yes, PMDS is position, moment, direction, speed. That's basically what caught my attention in the chat.
Cheers, thank you. As always, we thought we wouldn't be able to get through everything, and there's a lot of information we still want to share. But firstly, what we're going to do is I'm very quickly just going to share an overview of a type of practice that you can use as a coach for your sessions. Let me just share my screen here, and just to highlight what we've been discussing here. So let me share. Here we go. Let me know if you can see this. Yeah. Okay. Excellent. So I've tried to choose sessions whereby I know some coaches, you may not have, for example, 2 goalkeepers. You may have to use mini goals. You may have to use, for example, gates if you don't have mini goals, because those tuning in here are right the way from working at a professional level all the way through to grassroots. So with this session here, this is a 8v7, so I always include a goalkeeper, so it's overloaded for the defensive team. And usually, of course, when you are playing against a low block or a defensive situation, usually the attacking team is underloaded. Now, the mini goals, while they're positioned where they are. So, for example, if the Blues, once they win possession, naturally, and this may be a principle of yours, is getting the ball forward as quickly as possible. When they win possession, these could represent higher players. So, for example, striker movement to then play centrally forward, direct route to goal, or potentially playing out wide if maybe one of the wingers maybe pulls out wide. So that's where the mini goals are based where they are. And now, in terms of play, very simple. As we've talked about earlier, looking like the game. So of course there's direction where they're playing. There's a mini goals, and then there's the goalkeeper there for the attacking team. Play would start with the who would be the centre back. So who's moved up high, and then it's just as a game. Can you try to score? Can you try to break down the low block? Now there are two things that have been shared here. So just with this example, there's been the wide player who's 11 who started out wide and looking to now receive behind the fullback. And as you can see here, then taking the touch inside. And I know Lucas touched on getting to the byline, so that's one potential movement or problem that they're trying to solve, getting behind the back line, and that's potentially one way their team could do it. And then we talked a lot around the half space cross, so potentially, I think it's the next one. So a little bit further out, but potentially there could be looking at, and someone asks around how do you coach in terms of the half space. It's really dependent on, again, where's the position of the opposition. Are we in a space? So if, for example, the number 4, so I'll just circle there, if the number 4 maybe had the ball and wants to have a cross from here, from the corner, then that would be the trigger for, okay, maybe the 7 to get on further, for the 8 maybe to make a deeper line run, for 9 to make a run centrally. That would then be the trigger for them to be able to do that. So it's always important to, and as we've talked throughout, yes, you get into these positions and spaces, but what then is that message sending to the receiving players to do? And so this is just an example of a practice that you can utilize as a coach with your team. Anything from the panel just before we move on? I know we're quite tight on time.
Is there a way you would adapt it for less numbers as well?
Really good question. Yes. So if we have fewer numbers, how many are we talking about here?
So let's say you coach a 7v7 team.
Yep. So for me, I would always 7v7. That's what under 10s.
Yeah.
Yeah. So under 10s. For me, as much as possible, I would like them to, especially for the defensive team, can we have that back line as much as possible intact? So if they play with a back 3, for example, in 7v7, then can we have that? I think that's really important, because that's usually a good reference point in terms of the low block, having that back line. And then as much as possible, can we have, for example, if they play with a front 3, then can we have the 9 and the 2 wide players? I think it's really important for the width perspective, especially when we've been talking about the low block. That is a critical part of it, for being able to stretch that back line, for being able to create 1v1, 2v2, 2v1 opportunities. So as much as possible, I'd want to keep those concepts and principles within the practice. Andreas.
So, Temi-san, reconnecting.
Yeah, I think Temi-san's gone down.
Good question, Lucas. It always, if you start planning a session and your thinking process starts with your game format, whether it's a 5v5, 7v7, 9v9, 11v11, you're already on a good path. If you start from the problem and from a random drill kind of you like, or you have seen that might match us fixing that problem, you will find yourself into a direction where you are off road, kind of, right?
Yeah,
so take your game as a starting point, look what your team is good at or has problems dealing with, and then you'll take this exact, like you've done with those little pictures, right? You take the picture and then you go for it. That was happening in the game, and that's what we try to improve. You have the reference linked to the game. We improve to or win the next game, and then you're already on a good path.
Yeah, and like you say, linking to that, it's important to have real clarity and intention about what you're trying to get after in each session.
Yeah.
Do you have a singular outcome that you want your players to achieve? Try not to overload players with information about lots of different outcomes. Pick one and do it well is always what I think.
Awesome.
Temasan is trying to come back in.
So should we wrap it up? Thank you, coaches. Thank you a
Yeah.
lot for your time.
We should.
Really appreciate you being out here on a Friday afternoon, listening to us delivering or diving into some cool topic. Thanks for setting it up, Lucas and Temisan, even if he will see this on a recording and not live. Thanks again. Just connect with me, connect with Lucas, ask questions. I'll send a link in the comments of an ebook that aligns to what we've touched base on, and you can just send us your thoughts about how you do it, how you train it in your age groups, what problems you face. Just go for it, because we don't know everything, and I learn as much as you guys do if you shoot those questions to me and provoke my thoughts and Lucas' thoughts, and thank you for being out here. Thank you. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you guys. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for